the most commonly asked questions I get is what is possible for me to achieve? These are things that people ask me all the time, and I reverse it back to them and say, what do you think is possible for you to achieve? And really, it's an underlying confidence that we need to have in order for us to believe that we can achieve something, to understand that really anything is possible with the right mindset and the right amount of confidence. And how many times have you felt that yourself? So today, I would like to introduce my next guest, Laura Di Franco, who's here to show us all a little bit of what's possible for us to achieve with the right mindset, the right amount of confidence, and self belief. Laura, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here. What a great topic.
I know it's exciting. I'm already jazzed. Tell us a little bit about yourself because you came from physical therapy, this holistic, very much nurturing, health related background, and then made a transition. And there's a lot of folks out there making transitions too, but the confidence they don't quite have to do that because they're not really sure what's possible for them to achieve. So I would love to hear a little bit about your background and how you got to the position you're in today.
Yeah, thank you. So, the first 30-year career was as a holistic physical therapist. I went right into helping people right out of high school, into college, knew my degree, did the thing right away. And in 2016, I opened up company number two, which is the current Brave Healer Productions, because I had been building a business and writing and doing a bunch of things. And I knew I could help my healer friends who wanted to do those things. So Brave Healer Productions was born, but I had the two businesses. And I was one of those people who was saying to my friends, I'm transitioning. And that lasted 5 years because I was too afraid to give up the bread and butter business and jump, right? And I did them both. And that was a lot. And then COVID came around and shut down my physical therapy practice. And I thought, oh, and I had a little panic for about a week. And then I said, okay, universe, thank you for doing that for me. Cause have, I don't know if it was the confidence or maybe the trust, the surrender. I, wa- I was too afraid to make the leap. You know, COVID did it for me. I made the decision not to reopen my PT practice. And now we are, several years into this beautiful award winning publishing company.
And
It-
brag a little bit about yourself, please. How many, I mean, please brag about yourself. How many books have you gotten to the bestseller status? Because I would love to know.
we I have done a lot of personal writing. I have 13 books of my own. And as a company, we just celebrated this past week Amazon best-selling title number 81. That's been pretty cool. You know what's even cooler? A community of expert healer authors of 2,000 or more now. And these people, if you're watching, thank you for being in my community and for being part of this and for grabbing my hand and saying, yeah, we can do this together. I love them so much, this Brave Healer community. So I appreciate you letting me have a moment to shout them out.
Absolutely. So it's all about mindset. And I love what you said. COVID hit a lot of people hard, a lot of businesses really hard. And some folks said, I can't recover from this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. And maybe a lot of people just kind of gave up, right? And they accepted defeat, but not you. You looked at this as an opportunity to change, to transition. And I love that mentality because we always have a choice. We can accept that victim mentality, which is really easy to do, or we can embrace it and say, you know what? Thank you for helping me maybe move past something that wasn't serving me any longer so that I could grow into a fuller potential and ultimately serve more people. What do you think about that?
Well, with awareness, we have a choice, and my entire life
Mm.
has been about the pursuit of awareness. That is the healing. Feeling is healing. Feeling is an awareness practice. Mind, body, soul, spirit, feeling, and noticing. And when you have awareness, you have a powerful tool, right? And I never really thought that I got the clarity, confidence, or courage first. You never get that feeling first. You have to take the brave action. And then guess what? The clarity, the confidence, the courage flows in from that action you took with the fear. Fear is a feeling in your body. And so as a, this is where the physical therapy and healer comes in. I want you all to know that when you're feeling those things, you're making them mean something. That's the problem. And fear is just a feeling. So, don't let it steal your show. Like you have to recognize it and then you have to make the decisions and take the actions with that feeling. Some days it feels impossible, right? So, those are some of the things I think about that and how I've developed what I call my ninja moves of mindset.
I love that ninja moves. That's pretty exciting. I automatically have a picture in my head. Um, and it's really that awareness like you're talking about. And, you know, we're human beings. We're gonna face times of fear and uncertainty and unpredictability. It's about acknowledging it and knowing that, hey, this is a fear, this is an emotion. It doesn't mean it's reality, right? And to be able to move past that is not easy. In my career, I think of a lot of people that I know just in podcasting that, like, I think the statistic is 1,800,000 podcasts quit before they even get started.
Oh, wow. It's a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
90% quit after 3 episodes. Well, right? We're fearful. We think, where's my next guest coming from? What if this fails? What if, what if, what if, what if? And all these what ifs keep us exactly where we are, don't they?
Yeah, for sure they do.
That's a
It's
scary place to be, right where you are and not grow. I would rather grow than be stuck, right?
well, I'm like you. Yes, I agree. I think some people like the comfort zone, but nothing good happens in the comfort zone. Nothing good and big. Those dreams, they sit outside of that comfort zone a little bit, right?
They do.
Yeah.
And I think about authors as well, because I'm an author and, it happens. It's inevitable. You're writing your book. You think, what if nobody reads this? What if this doesn't land? What if this doesn't resonate? How about what if it does? What if it does? And I challenge everybody listening to this episode to say, what if it does? Right? Because I think it's so easy to say, what if it doesn't? But it worked for someone else. Why can't it work for us? Right? And it's about putting in that confidence to believe that your message is valuable. Do you run into this with your authors too? I'm sure you do.
All the time. You're making me think about, just the confidence and the belief in yourself. Bet on yourself. Plus, there's somebody waiting to hear the message in only the very unique way you can tell it or write it. And, staying stuck in your fear is only preventing that person's life from being changed. We share the messages sometimes without knowing who's reading the book. My joke about it is I think my mom and my BFF were the only two that read my first book. That's how I felt about that the first time. It was way more than that, though, right? It was way more than that, those two people. So if we would just get out of our head and get the words out there, and it's quite a thing to publish a book, and it's another thing to actually promote and market it so that the bigger world gets to read. We think we publish and then everybody's reading. Well, we have to promote it too and get our words out even more so after we get that book out. That's
Mhm.
scary too.
Oh my gosh. You're speaking my language, right? Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I love what you said. Well, so much to unpack there, but if we don't share our stories, our thoughts, who are we helping? We're not helping anybody. And this actually was a realization that dawned on me not that long ago, Laura. I was delivering my very first keynote speech of all time. This was before I became an author. And it was a speech about LinkedIn and strategy and personal branding, right? And at the end of my speech, I said, you know what? I want to share a piece of my story with you guys today and tell you why I'm here because nobody knew who I was. And I said, I'm here today because I built a personal brand on LinkedIn that people know, like, and trust. I'm here today because I posted, consistently. Someone noticed my work and invited me to be on the stage today. But I'm also here, and it was a mic drop moment. You could hear a pin drop in the audience because I believed in myself and I did not succumb to major depressive disorder. And instead, I overcame and wanted to become someone else. I wanted to become the person I was always meant to be. And when I said that, I automatically felt the entire audience was with me. And I never talked about my past of depression and having suicidal thoughts. I was afraid to. Certainly never talked about it on LinkedIn. Once I said it from that stage, it didn't matter what my speech was about. So many people ran up to me afterwards and hugged me and said, I've had those same thoughts. And look at you, you overcame and now you're on stage. And you went from being this person who was terrified with no confidence to speaking on stage and telling me how to run my business. I'm like, yep, that's right. The power of sharing your story. And it was at that moment I realized I need to talk about my story and help other people. And it never occurred to me until that moment that if I don't share my story, I'm not actually serving to my fullest potential. And that led me to writing my book. That led me to telling the story about how I overcame a severe lack of confidence my whole life. And that story came to me developing a 5-step method, to developing a book, to keynotes, to all sorts of opportunities. So I really encourage everybody who's listening to this, your story matters, it counts, it's important. Nobody else in the world has it. And if you can change a life with your story, you should share it. But if you can save one, you have a moral obligation to share it. Because if you can save a life with one story, even just one life, oh, you have a book in you. Maybe a little bit more than a book, right? Don't you think, Laura?
Oh, yeah. Everyone has a book. Everyone has multiple books.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. Um, I'll even say about storytelling that it's the difference between whether someone will be hired or not. Because I could line up 10 business coaches, but it's the one who was brave enough to share their personal story with me that resonated, that I nod my head to, that I will hire because they were vulnerable. They were ready to share. They were courageous enough to share. All the rest of those people sound the same in their marketing to me, but it's the personal story that makes you stand apart and resonate with perfect ideal clients for lots of reasons. And we're also afraid to get personal like that, but the more personal, the more universal. You have to think about that. And then when someone hears your beautiful example, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, she's my gal. I want to talk to her more about this thing she does because I already resonate with her as a person and her courage and confidence and all the things we're talking about today.
Oh my gosh. So true. And it's that personalization, that authenticity, that vulnerability, and it's not easy. I'm not gonna say like, "Hey, this is the easiest thing you'll ever do." It requires some courage, maybe a lot of courage, and I'll admit, I didn't wanna do it. Like a lot of people, I thought, "I wanna have this perfect polished image," and you know what? It got me nowhere, absolutely nowhere. It wasn't until I really started sharing my authentic story and opening up and telling people, "Hey, I grew up I'm the youngest of 5 kids, but I was raised by a single mother in poverty." Do you know how many people that resonates with? So many. Even if you didn't grow up with that exact background, now you look at me and say, "Thank God she's a real person. She went through something hard and she overcame adversity, hardships in life." So it got me more courage and more bravery, and all of a sudden now I share all different types of parts of my story, and I have it in my speaking materials as well. And one tip that I always give to professional speakers, in your marketing collateral, is that a lot of us have these super polished bios and they look great, right? I've been in Forbes, I've been in these places. That doesn't get you booked. Hint, hint. What gets you booked is your story. So I have my super professional bio in there, right? Because it's kind of obligatory. But I also have my super unpolished story in there. What gets me booked on stage is not the polished bio, it's the story. Because meeting planners and event organizers look at that and say, you are the solution because you're the real person. And kind of like what you said, Laura, they remember you, don't they?
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
That's so powerful. So, there's a lot of authors who are listening to this right now. Maybe a lot of entrepreneurs and people they're looking for what's possible for them. Maybe they feel stuck. What would be a good piece of advice that you would have for somebody to just kind of get started and share their story with the world?
Well, along with what else is possible, I love that question. I ask myself that question multiple times a day. I also say, what if it could be easy?
Ooh,
And anytime I hear out of my own mouth, this is going to be hard or this is hard, I pause myself. And that's the ninja move, that awareness right there. You catch yourself. What if this could be easy? What if writing a book could be easy? What if the courage and confidence could be easy? What if it's like, wow, I'm not sure I even thought about that. So you want to write words and you want to get them out in the world in a bigger way. You can be a blogger, of course. You can be a vlogger. You can write your book. But a lot of the time, the writing for me was first prioritized as a healing process. So I had to get out of my head that anyone was going to read it first. I needed to just move the words out of my heart and onto the page. And then I could look at that, and writing is an awareness process. So you can look down at your notebook or your computer and you could say, whoa, do I think that? Look at that. Look at, here I am out on paper, right? That's an awareness process. You're making space. So that tip is just write, no rules, get it out, move the message out of you, move the stories, move the tips and the lessons you want to teach people, move it all out. There's editors to make it perfect. We got you in the perfect department because we'll publish in a way that really makes your writing come alive. But people get so paralyzed and so stuck in I don't know if I'm good enough. Well, I think, that fear of not good enough is boring, honestly, because you could be saving a life. So, how about this isn't about you anymore? It's about that life you might save. So let's be brave and let's move it out and then get some help with the rest, right?
absolutely. I tell this to people all the time because which I'll start referring them to you because people come to me asking how to share their story, right? And it's a beautiful thing and I appreciate it. But you're right. It's cathartic. What's interesting is I never considered myself a writer. And when I started writing my book, How to Grasp Confidence, the first weekend I started, I pulled out my laptop, I sat on the couch, and I told my husband I just need to get something out of my head. At the time, I kind of thought, it could be just for me. It could be a newsletter, a blog. I didn't know. 11,000 words later in one weekend. And I realized, oh gosh, this is not a blog. This is a book. And it was super, super cathartic. And there were times when I was writing my book, tears were just streaming down my eyes because it's a very personal story. And I thought, are people going to judge? Are, all these things. And then I reframed it just like you said and said, no, it's not about that. It's about who I can help. And you have to reframe it to a mindset of service. And I think when you do that, it takes a lot of the fear away. It takes a lot of the anxiety away, that pressure that you may feel. And all of a sudden, you just think of, you know what? I'm doing this as an act of service. And that's a beautiful thing because if I can help one person, I've done my work. And I think if we could all do that, regardless of what medium it is, if it's podcasting, speaking on stage, writing a book, a blog, whatever, maybe it's just content you're posting, right? And maybe start there, but start because nothing happens if we don't take action, does it?
People are so worried about their content being not exciting enough, or get this, not bad enough of a tragedy. I'm like,
Oh,
oh my gosh,
gosh.
does everything have to be that? Like, could you also share your most blissful moment or the one that brought you the most joy or whatever, right? So there's no rules here. I write to feng shui my soul first.
Yes.
I write there to clear out a space because then I'm a channel for what needs to move through for other people to read. So do it for yourself as a process of shifting the energy and moving the words. And then the content, the planned stuff, the strategized stuff, the business stuff, that'll start to move through in a whole different, authentic way, more authentic than before. You'll be
Yeah.
connected with that place that's bigger than you, and the perfect right messages will start to move through. That's scary because it feels vulnerable. And then when you go to those personal stories, right? And yeah, I'm going to ditto, just start. Give me a story on your social page today that helps me get to know you. I love frogs. So one of my little things was like, I love frogs, you guys. There's a frog in my driveway the other day, and I just scooped him up and talked to him for a couple of minutes. I just love frogs. I'm not afraid of them, whatever. And just the comments about that, like, oh, I love frogs too, Laura. And it's just a kind of a funny, stupid little moment about frogs. But that's the thing, is like, why does it always have to be this exact thing about your business? Why can't you just let people get to know you?
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And that's the power of building a personal brand. When you're authentic, when you show up as yourself and, it's sharing who you are and everything in between, but you don't have to overshare. It's something simple like I like frogs, I like dogs, I like cats, whatever. Do that enough and guess what will happen? You'll start to find your tribe. And this is what's so important. I actually had a former client tell me this one time. She said, "Do you know why I connected with you?" I said, "No, I don't." And she said, "Well, it was like I was in a dark stadium. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see anything around me or anything like that, but it was a big space. And then all of a sudden, there was a little flicker of light. And it was like somebody had um, a lighter on, right? And you could see the tiny little flash of light in this big empty room. She said, I just started going toward the light. And she said, that light was you. Wow, that's pretty powerful because it showed me you don't have to be this big, gigantic voice at first. You can be a small flicker of opportunity, hope, light to somebody else, and then they'll find you. And then all of a sudden, like attracts like, and they'll start coming to you even more. And then these people, guess what? They're your biggest supporters and advocates. They'll buy your books, they'll do business with you, and you as well with them. And then you find yourself surrounded by people that, again, genuinely love and support you and your work. It but it doesn't happen if you don't share your story. You can't create a source of light with nothing. You have to share, you have to talk about it, right, Laura?
Sometimes they're watching and they haven't commented yet. You don't know they're there, but I will for sure tell you they are reading and they're watching. And I had a moment in 2016. It was the beginning of this business. I was looking at Facebook and up pops a business messenger message from a total stranger. She said, "Oh, I read that blog you wrote." I had written on Mind Body Green, a big blog site at the time. "I read that blog. I loved it. I was wondering if you had anything else for me to read. I've been struggling a little bit with depression." And I thought, whoa, of course. I was so honored that she reached out to a stranger, to ask me. So I dropped some links for her. Of course, I had written hundreds and hundreds of blogs about self care, right? So I just like, yeah, give me a minute. And I put some links in there, but I actually went away and wrote and dedicated a blog to her anonymously, asked my community to step up in the comments with love and support. I learned that she was a mom of 5 and was struggling with depression. So my beautiful community stepped up and they put the love and the support in the comments. And then I got to take that link and put it back in Messenger for her. And she, I think, felt connection for the first time. You talk about that light. What I didn't know then, and I learned much later after we became friends, was that she had been planning the suicide note she was going to write to her husband and 5 kids. And you guys, I swear, if that's the only thing I ever do with my writing, it's enough. I'm done. I'm good. The one person. And so the sharing, if you move beyond that fear and understand people are reading, they're paying attention, and your message matters more than you could even know sometimes in the beginning. How lucky am I that she reached out and I get to tell that story? Like, not everybody does that, right?
Yes,
So this is another just example of why you need to start and get it out there and be afraid. Go ahead. It's okay. Be confident and afraid,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I had a very similar thing happen to me. Um, I had been posting, this would have been last year, early last year, about it, like I said, my past depressive and anxiety episodes and my near suicide attempt. And someone reached out to me. I had never met her. We weren't even connected on LinkedIn. I think she was a second degree connection. And she said, I've been contemplating ending my life. Total stranger reached out to me, but she knew I was a genuine person who cared. And it was interesting. So before she reached out to me, I posted, I was my husband and I were grocery shopping, and I told him, and he must get tired of this, but I was on my phone and he said, "Hey, I need your help with something. I need, what are we making this week?" I said, "I just need to post something. I just need to post this and get this out of my head, right?" And it was about suicide prevention and how we need to reach out to people that are happy too. Because I said in my post all of these examples, Robin Williams, Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, people that look on the outside that they have it all together, and then this tragedy happens. So I posted about it, and then she reached out to me after that. And I encouraged her to seek help and gave her book recommendations, and today she is still here with us. I check up on her every so often and just make sure she is okay and if there's anything I can do. And that's the power of it, guys. You share in an effort to serve others, and when you do, it is a beautiful thing. And you have to listen to that intuition. And if something is telling you, hey, talk about this, do it. Because you never know if somebody on that other end that you don't even know, that you're not even connected with, is yearning for that that exact information. So listen to that, right? Don't you think? It's so important.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wow. Well, I think we hit on a lot today, and it's about knowing what's possible for you, doing it with confidence, showing up authentically, not being afraid to be vulnerable, and then finding your tribe and your alliances that come with that. Honestly, the doors of opportunity and untold success come when you show up. But the first step, you got to take action. All these great ideas and philosophies that you have are going to go to waste if we don't share them, write them down, talk about it. So I encourage everybody listening to the show today to do just that. Take the first step of bravery, step out in courage and confidence, and share your authentic story. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode today. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I am so grateful that this show has actually escalated to some of the top, um, as a top podcast in several countries now in personal development. So thank you so much for that and all of your support. Don't forget to share it with your friends, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care.